The status of laws of nature in the modern world is one that I think is controversial. And one of the reasons I think it's controversial is that once we understand the history, we understand that the concept itself originally drew its coherence from a theological world picture. Now, if we no longer subscribe to the underpinning theology, we might then ask the question of whether the concept still works. And this is one of the views, say, of the philosopher of science Nancy Cartwright, who lives here in Oxford, and she has a rather different idea of how nature operates. Interestingly enough, a view that harks right back to Aristotle and the medieval picture that seems once again to put powers into make them internal to natural objects. And more than that, I think some philosophers are sceptical about whether there can be overarching general laws that cover every situation and to which all events will ultimately be reducible. So again, Nancy Cartwright is a good example of someone who thinks that not merely are there no overarching laws, but the regularities that we see in nature are not susceptible to reduction to an overall universal picture, but rather we have patchworks of regularity that work within a local frame, but are very difficult to systematise in some hierarchical understanding where specific laws can be reduced to more general laws. And this was the great dream of the 17th and 18th centuries, and it was spectacularly successful, the way that Newton, for example, was able to take Kepler's the so-called three laws of planetary motion and show how they could all be derived from his single inverse square law. But now, some people still dream of that ultimate reductive capacity to understand the world in terms of a few basic laws. But as I say, that might be the dream of some physicists, but some philosophers are quite sceptical about whether that's in principle possible.